So I reduced the 9mm collar by 100 thousandths and then left a little slot there so that it would still fit into the plunger carrier part. The next thing that you have to do is get a 380 #1 locator pin from a 650, and then you have to cut it down. They're identical except it's just longer and not concave. So the locator pin for a 650 in station 1 is called pin 3, and the stock number is 13614. Then you have to order another plunger, and the plunger is not hard to change. It's one little bolt, and as you can see, it's angled a little bit, and that is for the shorter 380 case, which allows it to drop down and then not get hung up. So I milled that down with a nice metal file, 530 thousandths. And then you'll notice on the front that this white portion here is two-sided tape, and it's actually golf grip tape so that it sticks very well to the plunger. And then I took a 10,000th thick piece of tin and cut it to fit on the front, and then indented it. The reason for that is because of the case being a little bit less in diameter. It allows it to go ahead and push it into the shell plate all the way so that when it goes up to register to the dies, it lines right up. The pin, what I do is I took like my number 9, my 9mm locator pin, and used it as a guide for the length, and I cut it off a hair longer. And then I took a Dremel, and then I concaved it until it fit perfectly to drop into the locator pin area there. And that allows the cases not to fall over when the plunger pushes them out. So Dylan will sell you just the locator pin when you request that. And then the plunger, I ordered another plunger so that I could machine it down. And the part number for that is 18905. The other modification was the tube that I had to put in to keep the cases from hanging up in the area of the tube feeder where the micro switch is, because it bulges out and gets a little big, and the 380s tend to turn sideways in there. And then I just took some electrical tape and just made a little contour there so it stopped down there at the bottom. And that's the modifications that I made to make the 380s work on the 550 with a case feeder. The next modification that I made was for the system to feed and load 223s. So because I had the locator pin already set up, the 380, 223, and blackout all used the same shell holder, locator pin, and collar. All you have to do on the collar is open it up 1 inch, and that allows the 223 cases to fall freely down onto the regular plunger. And I leave the tube in there, the reduced diameter tube, because of the size of the cases are that small, and I also leave it in for the blackouts. So the blackout collar is another 9mm collar that is cut out like this on the back side, again with a Dremel, and the 223 was done with a Dremel. And the actual measurement was about ½ an inch. And that allows the blackouts to drop down, and then you use the same locator pin for all three cases, 380, blackout, and 223. Now when you're depriming and resizing the 223 cases, you have to be really precise on the depth that you set the decapping resizing die at, because as the case is being fed into the shell plate and goes up into the die, there's a very minimal spacing between where the mouth of the case is on a 223 and the decapping pins stick out, so you have to be a little cautious about how you set that up to get it to work properly. Other than that, the 300 blackouts feed great. Now I use the small caliber shell plate for the feeder in the case feeder from a 650. I use a 223 small rifle shell plate from a 650, but for the blackouts you have to use a large shell plate with the washer under it. What happens if you use the 223 small rifle plate? The cases tend to get in there either way and they'll drop wrong side. So by using the large rifle plate with the washer under it, they'll fall in there and drop in straight up and down. So that works for me. If you guys have any questions, you can YouTube me and then I'll send you my email address and then we can correspond that way and give you any more details that you need. I've made up some sheets like this that I mail out to folks, or I take a picture of it, text it to them, and this is actual size of the locator pin, and this is actual size of the plunger with the measurements on it and what to do and the order numbers and things like that, so that you'd be able to make your conversions.